We mark the second anniversary of the water park explosion with an update on lawsuits filed. Dalian Tzu Chi Hospital implements a new alarm system to decrease the chance of patients from falling when getting out of bed. Welcome to Star Headlines. I'm Marilee Schroeder. Thank you for joining us. June 27th marked the 2-year anniversary of the Formosa Fun Coast Water Park explosion, yet the lawsuits filed on behalf of the victims have not garnered results. The day before the second anniversary, Taiwan's Consumer Foundation filed a second class action lawsuit towards the water park and the organizer of the event. Currently, the funds donated and set aside for the victims have been put to good use, and the remaining $500 million will be distributed after a thorough third evaluation in July.
It's been 2 years since the Formosa Fun Coast Water Park explosion. And although the ground is closed, memories of that fateful night cannot be forgotten.
The explosion injured 499 people, with 3% of them not surviving the injuries. Throughout the journey, we have seen the rescue workers' hard work, the expertise of the medical staff, and the struggle of the victims. Yet, there are still no results for the lawsuits of the medical compensations.
It's actually 2 cases. One is safety violations or criminal negligence towards Lu Zhongji. The other is a civil case for damages towards Lu Zhongji and Formosa Fun Coast Water Park. These 2 lawsuits are filed at the courts right now.
In April of 2016, Lu Zhongji, the organizer of Color Play Asia, was sentenced by the Shilin District Court to serve 4 years and 10 months in prison. In March of 2017, the Consumers Foundation, on behalf of all victims, initiated a class action civil lawsuit. Then in June of the same year, a second class action lawsuit was filed, grouping the criminal lawsuit from Legal Aid Foundation.
Currently, there are 337 involved in the second civil lawsuit, which amounts to 7.29 billion NT dollars. If we add the amount from the first class action suit, which is 2.6 billion, in total it's nearing 10 billion NT dollars.
The road to actual recovery is long for these victims. A total of 1.7 billion NT dollars was donated and set aside for the victims of the water park explosion. And in the 2 years since, about 500 million is left. In July, the committee set up to oversee the funding will conduct a third meeting to evaluate medical conditions and funding. Furthermore, victims are also being categorized for social welfare benefits.
There are 219 individuals who have received the physically and mentally disabled manual, and including their medical rehabilitation or financial living assistance. With this manual, they can use it to gather further assistance.
According to surveys at the 627 Burn Center in New Taipei City, after the incident, over 90% of the student victims continued with their education, while over 68% of the non-students returned to their work post. After that fateful night, county governments across the island have developed stricter rules against safety in large-scale activities to ensure something like that doesn't happen again. We catch up with one of the burn survivors, 25-year-old Guo Xiuming, who composed a music video to express his feelings and help the public better understand how burn survivors have been fighting along in their journey to recovery.
After taking a shower, I squat for 20 minutes to half an hour. I feel the pain, but it is bearable.
It has been 2 years since the accident, and Guo Xiuming has been battling the physical and emotional scars after suffering burns.
I take the initiative to do rehabilitation at home. The injury to my feet was more serious, and therefore I have to put a lot of focus on my heels.
The surgery, debridement, and long road of rehabilitation can be compared to a marathon race. Throughout the process, music has helped Guo relieve his frustration. Guo has composed a song to encourage those affected by the Formosa Fun Coast Water Park explosion.
When I change my wound dressing every night, I also ask myself, how could this happen to me? Nevertheless, I hope that through music, people can better understand how we survived the past 2 years.
开始，过年哦！来。
Besides composing songs, Guo also plays basketball with other burn survivors. Under the heat, Guo feels extremely hot wearing this pressure garment. Despite the discomfort, he still plays basketball to build up his physical strength.
He is a very optimistic person and often encourages other burn survivors. He cares for me as if I was his younger brother.
We play basketball because we've always enjoyed playing basketball. In addition, it is a way to see how much we've recovered after undergoing rehabilitation.
Facing the physical and emotional scars from the explosion, leaving them in fear and in tears. However, they're now filled with courage and ready to start a new chapter of their life.
Next, we meet another burn survivor from the Formosa Fun Coast Water Park explosion, 27-year-old Zhu Yuzhen from Taichung's Fengyuan. Her road of rehabilitation has not been easy, and she wanted to give up many times. However, as she remembers her family is counting on her, she endures the pain to yield great results. She's now returned to work, living each day to the fullest.
My parents aren't young anymore. I don't want them to stress over me. At the time, there weren't much I wasn't used to, but I wanted to overcome them on my own.
The ability to overcome difficulties have stemmed from her bravery in facing her challenges in the past 2 years. This is Zhu Yuzhen. She suffered burns to 50% of her body, with her lower legs being the most severe.
These web-like areas have been skin grafted. I asked the doctor how much longer must I be tied up. He said until you can use your toes to pick up tissue. Tissues are super thin, and when he told me, I felt defeated.
In the beginning, as her toes were severely injured, having to pick up a tissue was unfathomable. However, Zhu endured the pain of physical therapy to yield great results.
Before, I could only bend a little, but after being tied up in that torture device, my toes are functioning pretty much like before.
Remembering a day of fun ended in tragedy, Zhu chooses to look on the positive side for herself and her family.
When the painkiller ceased, I was in much pain. My dad then gave me his hand to hold, and I held on. Thankfully, he was there. Though it hurt, I was able to endure it with his love.
I wanted to give her confidence and willpower.
She's injured severely, and I don't like her working, but she can't just stay at home, shut away from society.
A year ago, Zhu returned to work, insisting on driving herself to and from work. She was met with some unfriendly eyes at work, but has also come across warm-hearted strangers.
I didn't know why he came over to talk to me. It turns out he wanted to share with me his experience as a burn victim and how to best take care of my scars, as well as adjusting my emotions. At that moment, I realized there are people who do understand. When it's injuries to the skin, it can heal easily, but emotional scars take a lot of time to heal.
What victims of the explosion needs is empathy. Thankfully, Tzu Chi volunteers are there to help support and encourage the Zhu family. A former track and field athlete, Zhu can only walk on the treadmill. Yet though she might fondly reminisce the old days of running with vigor, she is thankful she can still walk and has the opportunity to begin anew. Asian countries share a traditional belief that the body should be preserved as a whole upon death, leading Taiwan to have organ donation rates less than one-third that of Europe and the United States. Currently, more than 340,000 people have signed organ donation agreements in Taiwan, but despite this, organ donation rates is still quite low, with only 200 successful donations each year. Here's more about the state of organ donations in Taiwan. Have I ever heard of organ donation? Yes, I have. It's quite good. Have I considered it? If I can do it, then I will certainly agree.
At the moment, I haven't signed up an organ donator agreement. I would probably do it if I have the opportunity because many people need our organs.
A random sample by this report found that most people are supportive of organ donation. However, when it comes to following through, there's quite a big gap, as only 1.47% of Taiwan's population have signed an organ donor consent. This leads many to wonder what is getting in the way of more organ donations.
Have I ever considered it? Not all for myself. Why do I feel this way? Because it makes me feel afraid.
Many factors prevent organ donation. Around 30% believe that traditional concepts of death and keeping the body as a whole prevent organ donation. Much has been done to overcome these obstacles, as some 340,000 people have signed an organ donation agreement. This leads some to believe that Taiwan's organ donation rate shouldn't be so low, as annually there are just 100 to 200 cases.
If there are 10 family members and just one has an objection, then the donation can be stopped. We often encounter problems like this.
Surveys have found that just 10% of organ donations come from people who have signed organ donor cards while they were alive, with the remaining 90% of the successful donations coming at the request of family members.
The doctor told me my son's coma index was around 3. I told the doctor to try and save him if he can, but if not, we want to donate his organs to help others.
His son's heart, lungs, liver, kidney, cornea would end up saving 6 people. But the experience for many healthcare workers is that family members may be reluctant to authorize organ donations during this difficult time, even potentially preventing organ donations despite a signed organ consent form.
Many people may have signed this card, but haven't consulted with their family. And when something happens, they may be quite sad and some negative feelings may come out, and they won't tell them about organ donation.
Is it really possible for a family member to be reluctant carrying out the wishes of an organ donor?
My son told his sister to remember to donate his organs when he didn't need them anymore. He asked her to help him make this donation because he may not be able to get up again and crawl over this matter. So my son donated 2 corneas, 2 kidneys, a liver, and a heart. He's now living in 6 people, and I have no regrets.
Families may struggle with organ donation, potentially delaying the gold period for such an operation and potentially making these efforts in vain.
When the patient's with no heartbeat, these organs have to be harvested within 30 minutes.
Taiwan says that if the brain doesn't function, one can be considered dead, which is also known as brain dead. When bodily functions cease, doctors only have a few minutes to harvest these organs. Aside from corneas, the heart, lung, liver, and kidney can all die and no longer be transplanted into other people.
If the family does not give up to the last chance to rescue them, then it will be very difficult to donate organs to the people in need.
Taiwan's organ donation rate is currently some 7 people out of 1 million people. Though in Europe and North America, it is 20 people every 1 million people. This is just 1/3 of these Western countries. And countries such as the United States, France, and Spain have adopted organ donations by default, meaning that if patients don't make a special request, they're actually considered consenting to a donation.
In these countries, if patients don't make a special objection, the government will regard them as a donor. Of course, this leads the organ donation rate to be relatively higher.
Countries with higher organ donation rates tend to have the default system in place, whereas the opt-in voluntary system in Taiwan can lead to some confusion, also some debate if one does not clearly express intent. Also, family members can also fail to agree.
I don't think you can quickly persuade people into organ donation, as you have to do it slowly, and slowly accompany them, as their family will feel too rushed and think that you are simply coming for their organs.
At this important intersection between life and death, love and wisdom are needed to link those who have a gift that they can pass forward, those holding out hope for a lifeline so they can keep living.
Have you heard of Duchenne muscular dystrophy? This hereditary disease often occurs in infant boys due to a recessive gene in the mother's X chromosome. DMD sufferers often have trouble walking correctly early on, and as the symptoms worsen, they need to rely on wheelchairs to get around. By the age of 20, they experience complications with their breathing and heart functions. Let's learn more about this rare disorder. Currently in the 9th grade, Yulin must rely on a wheelchair to get to school. It was when he began 1st grade that his mother discovered he did not walk right.
He didn't walk like other children. He waddled like a penguin.
Yulin has Duchenne muscular dystrophy, just like his brother, who was 3 years older.
I already have a son like this. When I found out a younger one was the same, I fell apart.
Duchenne muscular dystrophy primarily affects boys, and it is often a recessive gene inherited from the mother.
Symptoms sometimes show up faster than others. Some occur when they are newborns and their breathing is not as developed. For other kids, the symptoms are delayed.
1 in every 3,000 to 5,000 newborn boy is affected by this disease, with the symptoms showing up around 2 or 3 years old. When they reach the age of 12 or 13, often they will need wheelchair support. And at the age of 20, often the symptoms will have affected their heart and lung functions.
Later on, they might require breathing assistance, and swallowing might become a problem and cause further complications. Currently, there's no medication they can take to prevent it, only conservative treatment.
Though unable to walk on his own, Yulin has strength in his arms. He loves baseball, and his favorite player is Chen Jinfeng. When faced with the camera, Yulin is a man of few words, just like his idol. Yulin is also apt at computers.
Compared with other students, his ability is the same. In this type of learning, he is not restricted to his physical body.
Those who suffer from DMD can only rely on rehabilitation exercises to slow the progress of the symptoms. Parents who have children with this disease live a very difficult emotional life.
They must have someone with them at all times. If you can't change it, accept it.
It's hard for her to take care of these 2 kids, as it's such a long road ahead. However, we are here to support her and be there for her when she needs us.
With support from society and family, DMD patients can still live their life to the fullest. Though they know their path in life isn't easy, Yulin and his family will continue to bravely face the days ahead. In Taiwan, to prevent patients from falling, Dalian Tzu Chi Hospital has developed a patient fall alert system. An infrared surveillance system will set off an alarm if high-risk patients try to get up from their bed. Medical staff can then check on the patients immediately, preventing them from falling. Since the hospital installed the system, the percentage of patients falling and sustaining serious injuries has dropped dramatically.
With red vest and a banner, the staff of Dalian Tzu Chi Hospital are promoting fall management.
If you need help, just press the bell button and we will come. Look at what is written on my back. Do not get off bed if you feel dizzy.
The medical team is practicing fall management because when the patients fall and sustain injuries, sometimes the injuries can be more serious than the illness. Therefore, Dalian Tzu Chi Hospital has developed patient fall alert system.
With infrared radiation, the alert system will go off when the patients try to get up. Then the medical staff can respond immediately and check on the patients, preventing them from falling.
Since installing patient fall alert system, the percentage of patients falling and sustaining serious injuries has dropped from 50% to 20%. The medical staff has also put red wristbands on patients who are likely to fall, so they can pay more attention to them. All these measures are in place to ensure the safety of the patients.
Staying at the Dalian Tzu Chi Hospital, we meet Tzu Chi volunteer and former patient Lin Jingyou, who brought some baked goods for the hospital staff, as he noticed them often skipping meals due to being too busy to eat during his hospital stay.
As usual, Dr. Yang Zhangcheng is calling the patient's number, but it is a secret visitor this time.
感恩啊，感恩啊，谢谢，大家很辛苦，很幸福。
1 month ago, Lin Jinyong went to Dalian Ziji Hospital for a spinal cyst surgery, and he noticed the medical staff often had to skip meals to take care of patients or to prepare materials for evaluations. Therefore, he decided to bring bread to them to supply some energy to them.
他是一位非常好的良。
He is a very good doctor because sometime after 7 in the morning, he'd come to the ward to check on my condition.
去关心我的病况。
The nurses refer to Lin Jinyong as their godfather because he often takes care of their lives while they take care of his wounds.
他也都很照顾我们啊，家人如果从
He cares about us. If his family comes to visit him, they'll also bring fruits and bread to us. He'll also tell us life's principles.
Volunteer Lin Jinyong has become a family member to this medical staff, and they will continue to love each other.
The Fire Bureau of Taichung City recently held a 3-month rescue training session. Among the 41 trainees, 9 of them were women. Although tasks for the training course were not easy, the female trainees overcame their physical limits and fears to succeed.
Climbing up and coming down with the ropes, or coming down from a very high altitude, and even practicing the zip-line rescue. For them, the biggest challenge is to overcome fear during their physical training.
Everyone has made it. There's no excuse for me.
In the night phase of the emergency rescue training hosted by the Fire Bureau of Taichung City, 9 out of the 41 trainees are women. The youngest is 21 years old, while the oldest is 33.
This training helps improve our physical fitness. Because I'm getting older, it is more difficult for me to do this.
During the 3-month training, the trainees use their strength of will to overcome difficulties.
I felt like I was going to drown. There was a fear in my heart.
During the 1-month water training, 22-year-old Wang Yiting overcame her fear of water.
I want to be a person who is needed by others, so I chose to serve as a firefighter.
It takes a lot of effort for men to do it, so it is relatively hard for women to do it. But their performances during the training was really wonderful.
These 9 female firefighters have overcome their physical limits with their strength and willpower to successfully complete the difficult training.
As Fremont is near the Tzu Chi Northern California chapter, a local school who caters to special educational children arranged for their 44 students to visit. The students experienced Tzu Chi's floral arrangement courses as well as learned recycling songs to help protect the environment. Let's take a look at some of the footage of their visit at the end of the program. Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next time.